Hello, hello, Crafty Crandall here, and today I want to talk about some books that I have read recently. The first book on this list and its sequel are Tiny Pretty Things and Shiny Broken Pieces by Sona, Charaipotra, and Dhonielle Clayton. Hopefully I've said that correctly. Again, I have no idea how to pronounce her last name, and I truly apologize for that. Regardless though, these were just some fluffy, dramatic YA books surrounding a ballet school in Manhattan in New York City. It was a very interesting book. I find that I really love ballet and ballet culture. It's just fascinating to me for reasons I cannot understand. But the book itself was really interesting. There was a lot more drama than I was anticipating. At first I thought that it would surround more of the trials and tribulations of being at an elite ballet school, but really it explored less of the physical and mental attributes of that and more of the typical high school drama that you would expect from such a competitive environment, which in my opinion happens at any school really. So it was a little bit disappointing in that regard. I wish that we had been able to really either follow one specific character through their time there instead of having the multiple perspectives. The multiple perspectives, while interesting, I found that they actually detracted from the book. I would have preferred to follow either Gigi or Bet's perspective solely, and then really understand what's going on in their heads, because I don't think that we really got a whole lot of that. And then I think what would have been better for the sequel is have the opposite perspective. So in the first book follow Gigi's perspective, and then in the second book follow Bet's perspective, for instance. I think that would have been really cool. There is actually a Netflix series for this series, and I watched the first couple of episodes, and it is so dramatically different than the books that I had to stop watching it. It wasn't even close to the same thing. So if you're interested in watching the Netflix series, just go in knowing that. It's not even set in Manhattan, which was one of the most exciting things that I was waiting for, was to just have a fun series, kind of like Gossip Girl, set in Manhattan surrounding the drama that goes on in an elite school. All it had to be was Gossip Girl, and it wasn't. So I stopped watching the Netflix series, but I did enjoy the books well enough. I will say that Shiny Broken Pieces, if you've watched my most disappointing reads video, then you know that book was on it, because as a follow-up to the first book, I don't think that I did a great job. As its own book, I think that it was okay. So there you have those two books. Those are two books that I have read recently. The next book on this list was by far my all-time favorite book potentially ever, and that was The Burning God by R.F. Kuang. This was the third installment to the Poppy War series, and it was phenomenal. That series, man. I want to do a full dedicated review to the series, but I want to read it again before I do that. So I want to buy all of the books in a nice paperback edition so that I've got them on my shelves, because I read the first one in audiobook and the second two on ebook, so I don't actually own any of the books. But I want to buy them because, again, best series I've ever read. It's so good. Highly recommend. If you're willing to jump into that sort of series, it is extremely dark. It is just mind-boggling. But it's so good. So again, Burning God, it was the third book in the Poppy War series. Again, we are following Rin. It pretty much picks up right where the Dragon Republic left off, which was great, and it is basically just the continuation of this ongoing war that's been going on since the Poppy War. It was amazing. My favorite characters played such a role, and I can't say enough good things about it. I don't want to go into any spoilers or anything, but just know if you read and enjoyed the Poppy War and or the Dragon Republic, then you should enjoy The Burning God. It really is not a disappointment at all. That whole trilogy was just fantastic. The next book on this list is actually also the final book in its series, and that is A Sky Beyond the Storm by Sabaa Tahir. I read this book without rereading part of the third book and I regret that decision. If you're gonna go into this book, I highly, highly, highly recommend that you refresh on what happened in the third book if you have anything close to a terrible memory like I do, because I was so confused when this book started. I didn't understand what was going on. I couldn't remember who was on what side and what was, you know, what the resolution had been from the previous book. And so here I am, like, starting this book, and it took me at least half of the book to get back into this series, which was very disappointing. And I don't know if that entire span of reading could have been rectified by having read the third book closer to this one. But, I mean, I read it this year. Like, I've read all 4 of the books in this series this year. So, I mean, it wasn't like a huge expanse of time went by. And so that was really disappointing. The ending of the book, the very end, was a very satisfying ending. It was a great ending. I liked it a lot. It made sense once all of the plot kind of came together. But there were just so many strands to this plot that had to come together to make it work that I was just confused for a lot of the book. And I don't know if that was like by design or if the author just got carried away trying to put too many things, too many aspects, too many details into their book. So I haven't read any reviews, or I haven't looked at the reviews. I haven't watched any videos reviewing this book yet, but I think I'm going to have to go back and just see if other people have the same opinion, because I don't know if I just like was missing it at the beginning, like I said, or if truly the book is being regarded as having like a too complicated, too many things going on kind of plot. If you had a similar experience, I would love to hear about it, because that one just kind of like threw me off. I mean, I loved the other 3 books. I thought that they were great. And then to have this one just kind of culminate into something that was just a little bit too confusing was a little bit disappointing. The final book on this list is Foundryside by Robert Jackson Bennett. I am actually currently reading this. I am 57% of the way through it, but I wanted to include it on this list because it's a book that I am reading and hope to plan to finish before the end of the year, so that should be the final book that I finish for the year of 2020. I'm enjoying it so far. The plot has been a little bit lacking. Like, it doesn't really feel like this book has much of a plot at all. And, 57% of the way through it, like, I still, I'm invested in the character, I'm invested in the world building. The world building is fantastic. I really enjoy that aspect of it. And I think that, the magic system, so cool. It's a phenomenal concept. But I'm just feeling like once they accomplish what they're seeking to accomplish in book 1, that should drive like a huge plot element that should, in theory, make book 2 much more plot oriented. However, I feel like book 1 just doesn't have much of a plot in and of itself, which is fine. It doesn't need a plot. I guess that I am finding out this year that I am just a more plot-driven reader. I like having a plot, and if there isn't one, it kind of drives me nuts. Similar to A Deadly Education, actually. It's kind of the same as that book in that the plot, it's more about the atmosphere. It has a lot more to do with the world building, and we finally got some of the main characters' backstory, which was nice, because prior to that point, I felt like we didn't really know much about any of the characters either. So it's another one of those like environment-driven books, and clearly those are not for me. But that said, this one is far more intricate, far more interesting, and just a much better delivery than A Deadly Education, so I am truly enjoying it more. Just quickly, since I don't think I've even mentioned it, the plot of this book is about, essentially the basis of the magic system in the world is that items can have a different reality imbued into them through what are called scrivings. So essentially, like, you can make a rock think that it's a chunk of aluminum or whatever. The reality that you imbue into the object is more successful if the object is already similar to what you're trying to make it. They can also alter like the perception of something's gravity. So if you have like a bullet that you want to go faster, you just tell it that it's been dropped from a certain height in a certain direction and it'll go that much faster, etc. And so it's a really fascinating world. The character's backstory that we did get was also interesting. So all in all, I am very interested in the book, and I can't wait to finish it. But like I said, it is a more environment-driven book. So if that fascinates you, like, highly recommend this book. It is a great novel for people who enjoy that type of book. Hey there, Editing Sabrina here. I just wanted to hop on quick as I'm editing this footage and realize that I should probably add that I have since finished the book, and yes, 100% it did exactly what I had said. The ending of book 1 really laid out a huge, like, plot advancement for book 2, so the book definitely did have a plot in the end. I would not say that it didn't have a plot. It definitely did. It just took a while to get to the point where the plot was actually significant enough to feel important. So that's where I would leave that. Foundryside was fantastic. I really enjoyed it, and while it was a bit slower to pick up into those important plot points, the enormity of the plot at that point was just phenomenal. So it took a while to get there, but I really enjoyed it. The payoff is worth it, and I can't wait to start Shorefall soon. There you have it. That is my list of recent reads here. I have really been enjoying reading this year. I've had a great reading year, and I am excited to continue that forward into 2021 and hopefully just continue to build on the progress that I've made this year regarding my reading. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Please give this video a like if you liked it. Please subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!